I'm doing a series of videos on this channel called Storytime, and it comes from a lot of different stories that I have throughout my time of being a special needs mom to my daughter who suffered from shaken baby syndrome. She was shaken by her biological father at the age of 3 months old, and then she survived with very severe disabilities, and she lived to be about 3.5 years old, and she passed away. This was back in 2020 when she passed away, so almost 3 years now. And I just want to share different stories, different things that have happened. And so this story, I'm going to talk about how God restores what is lost. And so for my personal story, I lost a child, and I lost a lot of things in between. And, I went through divorce. I went through losing a husband, which was, turned out to be a good thing at the time. Or it still is a good thing, but I experienced a lot of loss of being able to work, loss of, just lots of things, and loss of time. And so I want to talk about how God restores that. And most of us know the story of Job and how God restored everything for him, and he was so faithful, and he, from my perspective, he deserved to have everything restored because of how he responded and how he persevered and all of those things. But I want to maybe encourage you, if you're in a position where it feels like you're just losing, that God can restore, and he will restore. And so you can never replace a person. My daughter will never be replaced. I miss her every single day. I think about how she would be 6 years old right now running around, how she'd have a relationship with my older daughter and my younger daughter and her siblings. I would have 4 children right now here alive on earth if she was here. And so it's not to say she could ever be replaced, but God does restore things. And the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. And so hopefully this can provide some, encouragement. But so my daughter passed away. She was 3.5 years old, and that felt like a loss that could never be restored. And I remember in those first few months, especially as time went by, that it felt so physically painful that I felt like it could never be restored, that I would never be the same. And I'm not the same, and that's a good thing. But it felt so painful that there was never going to be another happiness, like I was never going to be happy again is how it felt, that I couldn't even feel the feeling of happiness because it hurt so badly, and I thought that hurt would never go away. And over time it has gotten better. It still hurts. I still deeply wish she was here. I can't even tell you right now how much I want to just look over and see her over there playing and to hear her voice. I could cry right now thinking about it. But and then my older daughter, who's 8 years old now, would have a 6-year-old sister. And so that's deeply painful still that she doesn't get to have her. But God has restored that in many different ways. And so for my personal story, God has restored that through other children. He has blessed my womb, and blessed our lives with 2 more children. I'm 40 weeks pregnant now with a baby who we're going to meet any day now, which is so super exciting. And I had another child in 2022, last year. And, she is the biggest blessing. I can't imagine life without her now. But she was a huge blessing. Did she completely replace my daughter Christa? No, she couldn't. She can't compare to Christa. They're completely different. And so, but God restored. I feel restoration through having 2 more children after a child passed away. And that's not the only thing that could have restored what was lost. God has worked that in other ways. He has helped other people through the loss of Christa. He has, spoken words through me. He has spoken words through her story. He has, encouraged other people and things that I can't even imagine and don't even know and won't know until I die and get to ask him questions, that he has used and, to provide restoration through such terrible loss and heartache. And, God has restored my heart and a lot of things through my current husband, Canyon. He restored the pain and anguish and just horrible things I went through in my first marriage. The abuse, the trauma, divorce. He restored all of that. And one way he did that was through my current husband, Canyon. Current and forever husband. But he just gave me such a huge blessing in my current husband. I never could have even imagined or pictured someone so amazing, or a marriage that's so beautiful. And it was only through God restoring that, because if I look back, it was just pain and destruction and terribleness that I experienced through marriage. And if God didn't restore all that, that would still be like the view that I had of marriage and stuff. But he restored. And so, I allowed him to restore that. And sometimes you have to allow God to restore things, or he can't. He's not going to force you to do anything or force you to let him in. And so you've got to be open to how he wants to restore things, or how he's offering to restore things. You've got to be open to that sometimes. And so because I was open to that, I have a beautiful marriage. Because I was open to him restoring children in my life, I have 2 more children. And to beat it all, like the craziest thing, which was not planned at all, was the first child that my husband and I had. We suffered a miscarriage, but that baby was due in July. And right now it is July, and I am about to have a baby. So God restored that life that was lost through miscarriage and was due in July. And now, I wasn't trying to prevent life, but I wasn't planning to get pregnant either. So God worked it together to where that restoration happened. And now we're expecting another child in July, who's due any day now and healthy. And our other child, so my daughter who is shaken, Christa, was born in February of 2017. And our first child, who is alive, her name is Kaya, she was born in February of 2022. And so, you can see how God works in such amazing ways. And we didn't plan her. We weren't preventing her life, but we also didn't plan for that. And especially to be in that month. And so God will restore. He does restore. And so I just share that because I think it's just so beautiful to look back and see what God will do and does. And it's just, I can't wait to see what God does next in our lives, because he's still restoring, what has happened and all of that. But it's beautiful what God can do whenever we allow him, whenever we trust him, and we allow him into our hearts, even after we've been so hurt, and maybe even hurt by what we think was him, but, really wasn't him. But, hurt by church people, whatever it is. Whenever we allow God in, he does provide restoration, and it can be so beautiful, and we need to give him the credit for it. And so that's what I'm here to do, is give God the credit for that and to share this story. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.